Call this meeting to order. It's Tuesday, August 26th, 2025, 9 a.m. Commissioners Courtroom, 162 West 1st Street, Trinity County Courthouse, Groveton, Texas, 75845. And we'll start. Bring us.
Absolutely. Would you join me in prayer this morning? Gracious Heavenly Father, we approach your throne. God, we love you and we give you praise for every blessing that you have bestowed upon each and every life. Today we ask you to be with us as we conduct the affairs of our county. Let it do us to our utmost ability and integrity, God, for all. I ask you to continue to bless our nation, our state, and our county. And we ask these favors in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
We'll start with the public forum. Jeremy Carroll.
Members of the Commissioners Court, I stand here today as the Chief Deputy of the Trinity County Sheriff's Office, but more importantly, as the one who has been forced to do the job that you lack the testicular fortitude and the courage to do yourselves. I challenge each of you to look them in the eyes and tell them why their careers are being destroyed. Don't hide behind the staff. Don't make me be the messenger for your failures. Have the courage to face the people that you're sacrificing. These are people who answered the call when the county needed them, people who came to work under the promise that their positions were necessary to keep our jail in compliance with the state requirements. And now, because this court failed to act on the process of building a new jail, because deadlines were ignored and the variance was lost, those same employees are being forced out, not for anything they did wrong, but because of your inaction. Make no mistake, this is not my failure, this is not the sheriff's failure, nor the failure of the jailers who worked every day in good faith. This is yours. You were given the responsibility and the time to address the county's jail crisis, and you did not. As a matter of fact, alongside Ms. Vicky, we were able to help offset some of our housing expenditures to the tune of $61,746 in reimbursed grant funds. So, Commissioner Smith, I agree. We do need to save money. And guess what? We're doing everything we can to help. Can you say the same without ruining someone's livelihood? I'm not going to be the one who sits across the table from these employees, deliver the news. I'm not going to be the one who's going to watch their faces fall, watch their families suffer, and know that careers and livelihoods are being destroyed. If you believe this outcome is acceptable, then I challenge each of you to stand before these employees, call them by their name, and tell them to their faces that they are expendable because of your inaction. Explain to their families why their livelihoods are being taken away while you sit on this bench pointing fingers everywhere but at yourselves. Tell them you chose to put off action. Tell them you let the variance expire. Tell them their service, their sacrifice, and their dedication means less than the politics and procrastination that got us here. Enough is enough. The blame lies squarely with y'all, Commissioners Neil Smith, Tommy Park, Mike Lofton, Stephen Truss, County Judge Danny Martin. The people of Trinity County deserve to hear the truth out loud, and if you will not take responsibility for fixing the crisis, then you must at least take responsibility for the human cost of your inaction. Judge, you mentioned messages from you to my boss, yet I haven't seen them. However, here's a chain of communications by and between y'all and the jail commission and the sheriff if you want a copy of it. I can be glad to send that to y'all in an email as well. Removing these 4 jailers not only impacts their livelihoods, but that of your constituents, your families, my deputies, my jailers, my dispatchers, and the safety of this community. Tell the citizens that you're okay with no one being available to answer their emergency calls for assistance because the dispatcher must step away from the console to tend to fighting inmates or one who has experienced a medical emergency that cannot be left alone. And Mr. Hargraves, since you believe, well, we'll be overstaffed, Commissioner's Judge, I'll be sure to tell your wife who's trying to get you help in the middle of the night that the reason her 911 call went unanswered is because we were overstaffed, and see how that plays out for y'all's next election. Tell my staff that their job doesn't matter, that their workload can easily be accomplished with 4 less people. Commissioners Park and Lofton, you were the most verbal during the last session. Commissioner Park, you claimed the court did everything that was needed in your opinion. I enlightened you last session. That was clearly not the case, and you heard yourself from Executive Director Woods of the Jail Commission last week on a phone call as to why the variance was pulled. and that my letter to them was simply a verification confirmation for their decisions. Not to mention that if the jail bond passes in November, that the variance can be reinstated. So you, 5, pick the 4 of my people that you're going to let go because I'm not doing it. I will lose my job before I fire them for y'all's inaction. Thank you.
Okay, Alyssa Cockrell.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Alyssa Cockrell with the Trinity County Sheriff's Office. I'm also a tax-paying property owner of Trinity County, and I've served this county for 14 years as a 911 dispatcher, certified jailer, peace officer, and now as an investigator. Commissioner Tommy Park, let me speak to you directly. When you served as chief deputy, I worked underneath you as a dispatcher and a deputy. You saw firsthand what we faced. There were numerous occasions during booking when inmates started fighting, and who was called in to assist the deputies, the dispatcher and the jailer. It wasn't just fights. If an inmate was placed on suicide watch, we had to physically check on them every 15 minutes, no exceptions. When I worked as a dispatcher and a jailer, I had to leave the radio, walk up the stairs every 10 to 15 minutes, and hope nothing would come over 911 while I was gone. I couldn't be in 2 places at once, and that's the kind of impossible choices understaffing forces on us. As an investigator, I'm still covering shifts and dispatcher in the jail when someone calls out, and in the 14 years I've been here, it used to be plausible for dispatchers to cover the jail, but those days are gone. Call volumes have doubled, if not tripled, and now we're talking about 4 positions. These aren't just names on paper, these are people who chose to serve Trinity County, not go work somewhere else. If these positions go away, the impact will be immediate. Jailers forced to work longer hours with fewer resources, patrol deputies yanked off the street to babysit inmates or run transports while emergencies go delayed, and dispatchers forced to leave 911 calls ringing while they run in to help the jail. Budgets are tight, but public safety is not where you make cuts. You can't balance a budget on the back of first responders and expect citizens to be safe. If you're looking for saving, take it from the commissioner's budget, not from the sheriff's office, and certainly not from the jailers. I'm urging you, as strongly as I possibly can, do not take away these positions.
Thanks.
My name is Leanne Sykes, and I am a dispatcher jailer with the Sheriff's Office. I never thought I would have to choose between answering a 911 call and to help checking on inmates in a jail cell, but that's exactly what's going to be happening in Trinity County. I'm one of the voices on the other end of the line when you dial 911. When your house is on fire, when your child is choking, when you hear someone breaking into your home, I'm supposed to be there ready to send help. Seconds matter in those moments. Sometimes they mean the difference between life and death. But instead of being at the console ready to answer your call, I'm going to be forced to be in the jail, tending to inmates, covering posts that should be staffed by full-time jailers who y'all are firing. Not because of anything they did wrong, but because this county failed to act. There has been years of warning from the Sheriff and Jail Commission, who gave us a variance to keep the jail running, but that variance required progress towards building a new facility. Y'all, as the commissioners, ignored that responsibility, dragging your feet, and now instead of holding yourselves accountable, y'all are going to be putting the burden on people like me, the jailers, the deputies, and yes, the 911 dispatchers. When you choose to cut jail staff, the Sheriff's Office has no choice but to pull from our own jobs to keep the jail running. That means when you call 911, there might not be anyone on the other end to answer. Think about that. Your mother could be having a heart attack, your child could be bleeding. The phone could just ring and ring because I'm stuck behind a locked door, making sure inmates don't harm themselves or each other. I took this job to save lives. That's why all of us in public safety do what we do. But right now, the action of this Commissioners Court is putting every single citizen in this county at risk. This isn't a game. This isn't politics. This is life and death. The termination of these jailer positions is a failure on y'all's part to protect the people of Trinity County. I'm asking, no, I'm begging the Commissioners Court to stop sacrificing public safety in Trinity County. Do your job so I can do mine, because the next 911 call missed might be yours.
Wes Cockrell.
My name is Wes Cockrell. I serve as the jail administrator for the Trinity County Sheriff's Office. I come before you today, not just in my profession capacity, but as someone placed in a painful position of carrying out decisions that should never have been necessary in the first place. Last week's your actions will force me to terminate employees. 4 of my employees were hired specifically to help meet staffing standards required by the Texas Jail Commission under the expired variance. These officers now answered the call to serve. They filled critical roles in an already strained jail, and they did their jobs well. And now, because of the county's failure to act after years of kicking the can, extensions, and tension, I must look these employees in the eyes and tell them they're out of a job. Not because they failed, but because the county did. Let me be honest, this is not leadership. Leadership is owning the consequences of your decision and planning. It's listening when you professionally employee tell you the current facility is not situation, and is refusing to let most vulnerable in your workforce carry out the fallout of your lack of actions. It is morally wrong that 4 people who have done nothing but their jobs will now be out of work, while those responsibilities for years of delay face no consequences at all. As a supervisor, it isn't just staffing crisis, it's moral crisis. How do I ask anyone else to apply for a job in the jail knowing that we cannot offer them the basic security of the future? I've supervised these officers. I've watched them show up on nights, weekends, holidays in the facility that's fallen apart, under policies that change under every jail inspection report, and still they give their best. To let them go now is just unjust, and it's shameful. Commissioners, if you do anything else today, I beg you to immediately reverse your decision to remove them from the budget, take ownership of your decision, and put us in this situation. I say this not in anger, but with deep sense of responsibility. The people who serve me deserve better. The people of this county deserve better. And unless this court begins to act like it understands the weight of the responsibilities, we're going to lose more than just a few jobs. We're going to lose faith in our leadership.
Ms. Reitmeyer.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Morning.
My name is Susie Reitmeyer, and I'm a citizen, a resident of Trinity County. I'm here today not as an expert or official, but as a citizen who is fed up. I'm fed up with the direction this county is apparently heading while under your watch. I'm fed up and heartbroken by what I'm seeing unfold. I'm here because 4 jailers, public servants, are going to be terminated from their jobs due to the loss of a jail variance, which this court failed to protect. These officers were hired to meet state-mandated staffing levels. And once hired, these officers did what was asked of them. They showed up, they worked long hours in a tough environment, and they have served our community well. They held up their end of the deal. But now, through no fault of their own, they're being shown the door, not because they failed, but because this court has failed. Let's be honest, this didn't happen overnight. The Texas Commission on Jail Standards has been telling this court for years that our jail is outdated and out of compliance. But this court has failed to do the hard work. This court has failed to take real steps to fix the problem. And instead, this court has relied solely on a temporary variance, while also putting off making the difficult decisions. Tell me, what part of temporary wasn't clear to this court? What part of state-mandated staffing levels isn't clear to you now? This court failed to do the hard work. And now that the state has pulled that temporary variance, that safety net, Your solution is to cut the very people who have been doing the hard work, who have held the line. That's not just wrong, it's dishonorable. These are real people. They have families. They pay taxes, they pay bills. They risk their very safety to keep the rest of us safe. And now they're losing their jobs because the people in power didn't do theirs. That's not just wrong, it's dishonorable. I don't work in law enforcement, I don't work in government, but I know what it means to take responsibility. And I definitely know what it looks like when elected officials push the blame downhill. You're not just firing jailers. You're sending a message to every public servant in Trinity County. The message of that when this court fails and things go wrong, it will be the public servants, just like these jailers, who will pay the price. Again, that's not just wrong, it's dishonorable. As a citizen, as a taxpayer, and as someone who still believes Trinity County can do better, must do better, I ask this court to please stop these terminations. It is the right, the just, and the honorable thing to do. I close with this. The citizens of Trinity County are fed up. We're watching, talking, we're taking notes. And come the next election or the next crisis, we'll remember who stood up and who stayed silent. Please, stop these terminations. It is the right, the just, it is the honorable thing to do. Thank you for your time.
Rocky?
Morning, man. My name's Rocky Boyd, and I've served as a jailer for the last I worked for the jail for the last 6.5 years. So I'm here today because in just a few days, me and some of my co-workers will lose our jobs, not because I failed to do my duties, but not because I broke any rule or standard, because the court failed to act. I was hired as part of a plan to meet the staffing levels required under the jail variance granted by the Texas Commission of Jail Standards. That variance gave the county time, a second chance, to address the fact that our jail no longer meets minimum requirements. But instead of using that time, they moved forward with construction or find a permanent solution. The court waited. You delayed, you hoped the problem would fix itself. And now when the variance has finally been pulled, excuse me, and the state says time is up, the solution offered is to lay off 4 jailers who were brought in to solve problems they didn't create, and I am one of them. Let me say this clearly, I did my job, I showed up for the county, I served with pride. In a tough environment, often short-staffed in a jail that the state has called outdated, non-compliant, I serve because I believe in law and order, I believe in public safety, and I believe this court would have our backs. But today it feels like you're turning your back on me and all of us who work behind those jail walls unseen and too often unheard. I'm asking you face to face, human to human, don't make us pay the price for your delay. Don't lay off the people who kept the jail open while the county jail sits still. Well, the county sits still. Do the right thing. Also, short 2 years ago, I was selected Employee of the Year for this county. And I was dedicated. I worked long hours. I answered the phone when the help was needed. I did everything that was humanly possible for my job. And one last thing, when this court decides to eliminate my position and basically fire me, I expect to be paid what is coming to me in the amount of $8,776.55. That's all, and thank you for your time.
Mr. Kenneth Wright?
Good morning, my name's Kenneth Wright, and I just want to talk about an incident that happened to me a few years ago. Thank you for having me. I don't remember the time of year, but I remember it was dark outside when I was at home, and I get a phone call from dispatch. Jack, I'm not going to use his real name, and I'm not going to use the real county name. I get a call from dispatch. Jack is in the Alpha County Jail causing problems, and they want him gone. Can you come in, get him out, and bring him to Groveton? I've transported Jack before, and he knew who I was. Jack was over 6 feet tall, built like a Dallas running back, and not an ounce of fat on him. I went to Groveton, picked up a vehicle, drove to Alpha County. A jailer was waiting for me when I got there. We walked through the jail to the back of the jail where Jack was in a segregation cell. We were gathering additional jailers as we walked. Jack was sitting in the cell, not moving, looking forward and down. I called to Jack through the door. Jack, I'm here to pick you up, take you to Groveton. He didn't move. He just sat there. I called to him a few more times. I finally told the jailers, just open the door. I gotta go in. I stepped into the cell, pulled the door partially closed behind me. I had a belly chain, handcuffs, and leg irons. I told Jack I had to hook him up to get him out of here. It wasn't gonna work any other way. He finally stood up after a few minutes. I put the belly chain and handcuffs on him. I told Jack I wouldn't put the leg irons on him. I wanted him to walk out of here with me like the man I knew he was. Jack let me know when he was ready to go. And I pushed the door open and we walked through the jail to the van. We went to Groveton without incident. I don't know if Jack had seen the 4 or 5 jailers standing behind me, ready to pounce with canisters of pepper spray, or just had a moment of clarity. It was the best outcome possible at the time. This type of incident happens more than once. It wasn't the first time I had to go into a jail cell to remove an inmate. If it had gone wrong and there weren't enough people get hurt. The inmate gets hurt. Then everybody wants to know, why did you do something different? You have to have enough people to handle the worst of times, not just everyday chaos. Thank you.
Approve the minutes, number 4.
Can I give a little,
Yeah.
since my name was brought up a few times, I was sitting with the sheriff the other day, when the jail commission called them and said that, their decision was made before the letter, that we didn't move fast enough in their opinion on the bond, go for the jail. They did say that. I'll admit that they said that the court did not move fast enough in their opinion. And I, in turn, in my opinion, which I've talked to the jail commission before, that just like I said last week that you brought up, Jeremy, that I thought it was all going in the right direction. Now maybe, maybe we should have put it on the agenda back when the jail committee decided to do it in November. and it was unanimous. The sheriff even voted for November, which I was under the impression, that's in line. We're going in line. There's a 2-week period in August, and some people disagree with that, but that's the law. There's a 2-week period in August that we have to call the election in November. So maybe we should have put it on the court, and I'll take some blame on that. I mean, I will. And said, hey, the jail committee did this. They decided unanimously, let's put it in November. And let's just approve that we're going to put it on in August to either say yay or nay to go to bond. And maybe that would have been enough for the variance. Maybe. You know, I don't know what else to say about that.
But the reason.
You can talk in just a second if you don't mind.
Okay. I'm sorry.
So maybe there's a little blame there on that. I was under impression for the variance, and I said it last week, and I'll say it again. We were supposed to hire some jailers, 4 of them. We did that. We were supposed to upgrade our jail. We did that. We were supposed to move forward on the bond. In my opinion, I thought we did it. Now, I guess everybody's got their own opinions, even jail commission, which they're the law. They're the one to put the stamp on everything. Now, as far as keeping the 4 jailers or not, I had an idea, and Wes, I'm going to address you, Wes, or the sheriff. I'll ask the sheriff, because me and Jeremy talked about it. The sheriff is the elected official. I'll just address him. Sorry, Wes. I had an idea several months ago to try to figure out how we can save these 4 positions. And who knows if it could happen or not. I thought, since other jails around us are sending their inmates off to different counties, even in different states, could we do some kind of interlocal agreement? And we would pay the employees to go over there. And I even went as far as saying we'd figure out a vehicle situation so they could leave from here and go over there and do their time, and in turn maybe get some bed space out of the deal that would hold us over until we figure out if we're going to get the bond, or we figure out we're going to build a jail or what, and we wouldn't lose these 4. And from my understanding, Jeremy said that wasn't going to work, and he might have talked to you, Sheriff, about it or not, I don't know. But the whole time I'm trying to figure out how to keep the 4 and help out the county at the same time. Now, I know some of y'all, or all of y'all in here, pretty much everybody in here I know. I come from a law enforcement background, and this is near and dear to my heart. Okay, so this is tough decisions, and y'all have never sat in this seat before. Okay? There's 4 jailers. The court lost, let's just say the court lost the variance. There's 4 jailers that the taxpayers are paying for that we don't need. Now, you sent me an email last week about the payroll, or the hours worked. I went through all that. I made notes on it. I've sat down and did all that. All the hours worked over doesn't account for 2,080 hours in each year. 2,080 hours is for 1 full-time employee. You went back 5 years. I did all the calculations, went and sat down, figured out how much part-time hours y'all have. It does not account for 1 full-time extra position. Now, I don't know what's going on over there. That's y'all's business. I try to stay in my own lane. I try to take care of the finances for this county. That's what I'm elected to do. That is what I found out. I tried to make a solution to see if we could work with a different county. Polk County sending theirs to Louisiana. I don't even know if that'll work, but we didn't even entertain the offer. I'm trying to figure out how people don't lose their jobs. Now, I guess that's all I got to say. I just want to make it clear that I've tried. I thought we was going in the right direction for this jail, which we are. So, that's all I got to say, Judge.
The only other thing I wanted to say was in the early part of the May, that if we'd had it then, it would cost the county an extra $15,000 to $20,000, and by holding off to November, we would save the taxpayers this amount of money.
Let's be real clear.
Okay.
It was not hold the election in May. It was to decide the election was, that's what the jail commission wanted. That's the 2 emails I sent you. I sent you one in January and I sent you one in March, saying that the jail commission said we have not gone far enough. They want proof. The proof is, it's got to be something in writing from this court saying, yes, we have every intentions of holding an election in November. That's all they asked for, and I expressed that to y'all. That's why the variance got lost. That's the only reason it got lost.
Yeah, well,
So,
you wasn't encouraged.
I'm sorry?
When you sent Carol to the variance jail commission, he wasn't for it, he was against it. If you don't, you can hear what he wrote.
Who was it for? I don't know.
Carol wasn't, and he said he didn't talk to you, but I know you all must have communicated somewhat.
I don't think that was said at all, and I think we're straying away from the public forum, so I'm gonna clarify that, because I read the exact letter that I read to jail commission. That was not in for or against the jail, that was simply stating the progress that the court had made up to that point. I don't think at any point in time in that letter, and I'd be happy to publish it for the court, for the citizens to see, did I say that I was for or against the jail at all?
Yeah, what I asked Jeremy was, did your boss know that we was gonna do it in November or not?
And I told you I could not speak for what he knew or did not know, but you can ask him directly.
Yeah.
That's not the content of the letter that was read to jail commission in May.
Well,
So let's clarify that for the court.
Let me just say one more thing and clear this up. I believe I did say it a while ago that I sat in with the sheriff the other day. We had a pretty good conversation, if that's what you want to say. But the jail commission did call and say their decision was already made. Now, I told the sheriff that, with him being the person he is, and he could maybe help out the situation. I know he had surgery, that he could have maybe convinced him otherwise. That letter surely didn't convince him otherwise, in my opinion. If it was me, I wish I'd have known about it. I would have went, and I would at least tried to argue the fact that what I did when I called Mr. Woods. I called and told him the next day, I said, man, can we please get it back? I thought we was under the impression we did everything. Maybe we didn't put it on the agenda back in February or whenever the committee decided to do it in November. Maybe we didn't do that.
Well, Tommy, you said, if I was there, I could have probably changed your mind.
No.
I had a conversation with Brandon Woods before this conversation took place, before the day.
I'm just saying.
And I requested then that they give me 6 more months. What can I do for 6 more months? And he said nothing. I already knew the variance was going to be turned out because they already told me that. I begged him not to do it. I asked him for 6 more months. Give him 6 more months, you'll have it done. He said the inaction, he had already heard too many times that 6 months we're going to do it, we're going to do it, 6 months we're going to do it. Basically, the can keeps getting kicked down the road, and they said they were tired of it. Now, I don't agree with their decision. I don't know why they didn't give it to us for 6 more months. But we are still under the process that if this jail bond passes, which I have no idea which way it'll go, that's November the 4th, November the 6th, they will give us that variance back if it passes. If they don't, we lose the variance and we stick with 7-man bed jail. That's just where we're going to be stuck until future whatever we decide to do. But it doesn't change the fact that this jail over here is a mess. Now, Stephen said last week that I hope the jail closes, we're going to close this jail down if the bond fails. Well, that's crazy to even say that. If this county tries to operate without a jail period, you're going to have some very mad people in this county. We cannot afford to lose a 7-bed jail, which I don't think we're any threat under. We're just going to spend lots of money.
That was going to be my next question. If either way it goes, if it doesn't pass, what do you think happens to our jail? That was going to be my next question.
Well, we're going to continue going on.
I think they'll let us keep continuing as long as we're in compliance.
I asked him, what are we going to do? He said, y'all are just going to spend lots of money keeping it up, but you're only going to have 7 there.
Well, let me make a statement if
That
I
was-
may.
It's not an easy issue, and I know you said we don't sit in y'all's shoes, but y'all don't sit in our shoes either. Y'all have no idea the operation.
I have.
You've not sat in the jail, Tommy. You said over there, yes. I'm not trying to discredit anything you know, but y'all have no idea. I don't even know what goes on in that jail half the time. They don't give me updates every night, unless something really bad goes on. When I go over and see, I sit there in awe at the amount of time that phone rings. People have to get up and go check on inmates, and when inmates are acting a fool. It is, inmate business is horrible business. No one likes it.
And I think I've said that in every meeting we've ever said that we've had, that how hard it is, your job is trying to find beds. I've said that every meeting. Now, let me ask you one last question, and you can talk. What is your thoughts on my idea of trying to go in a different?
I have no problem with that if they will entertain that. Now, we have some misinformation here. Like Mike said last week, there's misinformation. Mike, I don't know where you got it from, but it was totally wrong. You said that Houston County has half their jail shut down because they don't have enough staff. That's not true. None of their jail is shut down. They have the whole thing operating. I called as soon as you said that. When last week was over, I got on the phone, called the sheriff and said, "Are you shut down? Any part of your jail?" He said, "No." I said, "How short are you?" He said, "I'm one short right now, and one just given 2 weeks notice." So that may be old information, but it wasn't during the current
That
sheriff.
come from the commissioner.
So we have wrong information. When you're talking commissioner to commissioner, you're getting outdated information. Y'all don't know what goes on in our jail from day to day. You need to be talking to the sheriff if you want to talk.
I agree.
That's where wrong information comes from. That's what I'm saying. That's irritating when wrong information gets put out to the public when it's not true. And I'm not going to say I've always was correct on everything I've ever said too. I made mistakes. Like I said last week,
We all
said
do.
something was illegal keeping females over there. What I meant to say, Groveton said, "Well, don't keep inmates over there illegally." What I meant to say was, we're out of compliance when we do that. It's not necessarily we're breaking the law, we're out of compliance, and that puts us in liability issues that I don't want the county to have. Now, Tommy, your deal, I don't know. I mean, we can sit down and talk. Now, Polk County is shipping inmates to Louisiana, and that right there says in itself how desperate jails are in Texas. That Polk County can't find jails in Texas, they're having to go to Louisiana to get jail space.
Well,
That's scary.
For them, it's staffing issue.
I know it is, but it's also a pay issue because they don't pay as much.
Since me and Jeremy's talked, I don't know how many months ago it was, back when the variance lost, and I think all this started up in the air about if we're gonna keep the 4 or not. I don't know how I thought of this idea. Maybe I heard it from one of y'all, maybe I didn't. I don't know where I come up with this idea about, hey, Polk County's doing this, they're shipping theirs off, they're short staffed. What if we fund 4 of them over there and we get some jail space until we get our own jail or until we figure out this bond's gonna pass or not?
I would be willing to entertain that, but we also gotta consider.
But now we're at the.
We in 2 months, we're gonna have an election. If that passes, then we're gonna have to bring these 4 back. If we let them go, I mean, we got money training these people. Are we just gonna let them go?
Well, it's a 3.5 year.
I understand it. The variance would go for 3.5 years. We would have a variance at that point until if the new jail gets built, then we would have a variance so we can operate 15 hours.
What?
And you can look at the numbers, Danny.
Yeah.
The numbers, we saved a lot of money. We were saving money during the time that these inmates were being kept here because our jail went from $30,000 a month back up to about $75,000 or $80,000 a month. We were saving enough money to justify having this jail if we're operating 15
I
hours.
said I was gonna say one last thing a while ago.
You're shaking your head no.
But
You know that ain't true, Woody.
Well, show
You
me.
know that that's not true.
How is it not true? Show me the numbers.
Okay. When we first started talking about this variance, Mama said the less said, the best said, so I'm gonna say very little. But when we first started talking about this jail, you came before this court and said you could get us a variance for 8 more inmates. And, but we was gonna have to hire 2 more jailers. Well, we agreed to, you was gonna have to make all the adjustments to the jail and put in another shower and new bunks and commodes and sinks and what else, all you had to do. So we approved that. I don't remember. How much was it, Lacey, we spent on that jail? You remember offhand? 30,000, something like that?
Anybody got the numbers?
Well,
Wes?
anyway, we did that. And then when you came back to court, you said we gotta have 4 jailers. And I said right here, and I said, well, Woody, we ain't gonna save no money. You said, oh yes, we are. $250,000. He quoted me in the paper. I got the paper at my house where I said, 4 jailers is $200,000, Woody. and you said we don't pay our jailers that much. And I looked at Miss Bonnie and I said, with the insurance and the benefits, how much do we pay a jailer? She said, you're right, 50,000.
3 of those we hired, not
Okay, all right, hold on now. I said, well, that gives you $50,000, and I said, you got food, uniforms, bedding, and lights, gas, and water. You said, I'm already doing that. I said, it's no savings. We didn't save nothing with this variance. But you got 4 more people to boss around, and that's what he quoted in the
I
paper.
don't boss people around.
Well, that's what he put in the paper.
But number 2, or number 1, that I don't recall having that conversation where I ever said it was just 2. Maybe I did, but I don't recall that, because I don't know why I would have said that when knowing that I had been forward to operate upstairs. It takes 4 people to run a shift, 24 hours.
You can look at the tapes, that's what it
I
said.
will, I'll go back and look at it,
Okay.
and I'll correct myself if I'm wrong, I will. I'll come back in here and I'll say I'm sorry, but you're not, until you show me actual numbers, you can't say we didn't save money. If we save $10, or we spent $10 more, keep it on here, we also provided jobs for this county, we kept our tax dollars in this county. That amounts to something too.
May I say something now?
Ooh.
Well, go ahead if you're not through, I'm sorry.
Does it not? Does it not count for something if you keep some of your money in the county?
You keep talking about saving money and putting
No,
it
I don't
in the
think so.
county.
I don't believe that our job is to save money. Our job is
Okay.
to operate as efficiently as we can.
I've looked, and I don't even know your staff because you won't let them talk to us anyway. But I don't even know your staff. Only 2 or 3 of the old ones that's been here for a while. That's the only ones I know. But I know they don't live in Trinity County. So when you're creating jobs, it's for other counties. You've got them living in Corrigan, Huntsville, Dodge, Weldon.
Some of my deputies live in Huntsville, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't help there's not enough people here. to
Well,
do the job.
you said keeping the money in town or in the county. You're not keeping the money in the county,
I can
but
tell you this.
I yield the floor.
I can tell you what San City County did a couple years ago. When they come to us and they up the price of 75, whatever they went to, $85 a day, they come back to us. They went over there and they give all their people across the board a raise based on the money that they were getting from Trinity County. And then whenever the sheriff lost over there, he called us, he come pick up the inmates, I'm not doing it anymore. And then that county judge started crying to me saying, please bring the inmates back. So they were making money. We're sending our money over there to give them jobs and to pay for their jail and all their people raises. So why?
The people's gonna speak in November, and
that's right. That's what we want to
it'll
do.
be one way or the other.
So I'm gonna say one last thing.
That's what you said.
I said a
last
while
time.
ago, but I'm gonna say one last thing before Mike talks, is I brought this up to Jeremy back in whenever y'all lost the variance, probably a month afterwards y'all lost the variance, or within that same month. Y'all put the blame, some of the blame is on the court for not, I can't say 5 years prior, but a jail should have been built years ago. So I'm gonna put the blame on this, on Jeremy, because about the idea of 4 jailers going to a different county. You're saying you're agreeing with it. We could have got this ball.
I don't know how it works. I'm not going to sound for or against it.
You said you
bring
said
me a program that would work, we'll talk about it.
You said that you're not opposed to it.
I'm not opposed to
Okay,
looking at it.
so here we are, less than almost a month away from passing this budget that we're in the process of doing. And this could have been handled months ago. And we wouldn't have been here with having all these people that once cared about me. Y'all brought them in here. This could have been solved a long time ago. Months ago, we could have been shipping 4 of y'all, whoever y'all pick, 4 jailers over there, over wherever, and paid for them.
You can ask these people, do they want to drive that far?
I'm saying that's an
Driving
option.
from Huntsville,
That's an option.
Dodge,
I'm saying that's an option.
Weldon.
If it doesn't work, it
Oregon.
doesn't work. Did I not say there's going to be some kinks worked out? I mean, I'm trying to look for solutions. So this is on you. You sat up there and said this was on us. I can agree with some of that.
And I can tell you, I have my thumb on my people. I know that their ideas and how things work. I have deputies or jailers that left Polk County because of the administration, because of the work environment, to come work for my county, for this sheriff, for this administration. So when I say that there are certain things that I know about my people, I'm not going to say, hey, How about you go build the roads in Angelina County because, well, they don't have a commissioner over there and you're doing too much over here, you're not doing enough. We're not gonna send you to go work for another agency or another county. That's what you have to understand. These people also come here for a specific reason, to work under specific leadership, under a specific environment. Not to mention the same issues I addressed before with HR, the workman's comp issue that's already a nightmare. The feasibility behind it, you have a 1,000-page contract. Not to mention the intangible side of things. You tell them, hey, you go work under another administration, under another supervisor, under another sheriff, and you're subjected to that responsibility under that leadership. That's not how that works. Ask them, they're here. Ask them if they want to drive to Polk County or another county.
So, to answer your question, if I was working for you and you was a commissioner and you sent me to Houston County or whatever to go to work and help them out, if they were in turn going to help this county out, I'd take my blade over there and I'd do it. Okay? Number two, if these 4 jailers, if I was one of them and it was involving losing my job or going to work where my sheriff told me to go work, I would do it. And he can tell you I'd do anything for him if he'd tell me to do it. Okay? So that's all I got to say about it. We're talking about 4 jobs, 4 people that need their jobs. I've got maybe a solution. We don't know if that'll work or not, but we haven't even entertained it at all.
Okay, so we haven't entertained it, but when did we start talking about it?
Months ago when I talked to him, I told him to go talk to you.
We had no threat of this just going away. I thought this was all going
Yes, we did.
Until November, when we decide from there whether the jail bond passes or not. Then we would know what the fate of these 4 people.
We had the threat because I told them. I said, what's going to happen when it comes budget time and we're paying for 4 guys that are 4 people that we don't need.
Well, you say that we don't need them, but they're doing their job and they're working. I mean,
You just heard me say that he emailed me the hours of everybody working, and the extra hours doesn't add up to 1 extra person. You just heard me say that.
Yeah, well, I looked at that myself.
Here, you
I'll
got.
look at it after board. We got to do it right now.
Let's go on.
May
Mike.
I speak?
Yes, sir.
We're not against anyone. I heard a word it's not honorable and stuff like this. We started this budget $155,000 in the hole. In the hole. We're trying to look for every solution that we can look. He brought this up months ago. Now, whether or not they wanted to go to Polk County, I don't know. I got information that was passed to me that they struggle to keep their jail open. The fact of the matter is, we thought we were going in the right direction. I did. We had selected a committee. The committee was meeting. They were given all of the information. We thought that we were going in the right direction, or at least maybe I'm so naive that I thought we were going in the right direction. I don't know about if it should have been posted earlier. I wasn't made aware of that. If I would have seen that we maybe would have gone ahead and put that out there for everybody. We are going to have a bond election, and we are going to that fact. But to get that we did nothing, it's not true.
Mike, you got to go back and look at the emails I sent you, because you were probably copied on every email I sent to Dan.
When we
all those emails state that very clearly.
Okay, Woody, the problem that we have when we talked about a lack of communication is you and this court.
I emailed you.
Listen to me. Let me finish. You don't talk to us. You don't. If we could sit down as grown men and try to reason together for the best of this county, it'd be the best thing. I don't hate you.
Never said you did.
My deal is this, but we need to be able to sit down and talk with you instead of he said, they said. Let's look each other eye to eye and talk that we can come up with the best solution for this county. That's why I'm sitting here, to look out for everybody that I can look out for. Is this a popular job? No, sir, it's not. Do you make enemies? Yes, you do. But you got to look at the whole picture. When you don't have 7 apples in a basket, we can't give them all to one department and everybody else go without. We try to do the best we can. But we worked as honorable as I thought we were in the right direction. Now, whether or not we were, then I'm sorry. And I'm man enough to say I'm sorry. But I thought we were headed in the right direction to save every one of you every one of you that's here, we're not against you. But how in the world are we gonna come up with all the money that we don't have unless we go to jacking up taxes on everybody? And if that's the solution, then that may be the direction we have to go. But to say that we were not doing anything is incorrect. That's just not correct.
So when do you propose these conversations happen? Because I've talked to Tommy, he comes sat in my office and we sat down and talked.
Well,
I've never had a closed door to anybody on this court.
Woody, and that's right, but you don't even come to court.
Completely.
You don't even come and sit in
Okay, so
court.
last time I came to court and come in here, I was limited to what I could say to the open forum, and I had only 3 minutes to speak. That's when I quit coming. When
Okay,
y'all
I
said
believe
to me,
it.
I wasn't coming back in here.
I believe everybody would give you an opportunity to talk if you just come sit down and talk with us. That's all I'm saying.
Why do we have to come to y'all? Why, when there's a department that has an issue, why can't y'all go sit down with that department head and say, what is the problem?
We send people.
Y'all expect everybody to come in here and beg for
No,
stuff?
no, we don't want you to beg for
And y'all still
nothing.
making decisions based on whatever y'all feels right without any proof or evidence of what they really need.
Woody, that's not correct. That's not correct. We look at every figure that we can look at. And my deal is
Start
this.
going forward, and y'all need to remain open. It's just like the jail situation. I was not consulted with what we need or where we need to put it. Y'all are just making these decisions without any zero talking to me. Gary Adams even told me. He said he told y'all several times, y'all cannot be having these meetings about the sheriff, where's he at? Well, y'all will just let me know what I'm gonna do. This is Gary Adams. He told me several times, he told y'all. Why is he not here? Why have y'all told him about it? Y'all didn't tell me about these meetings y'all were having with him. No one told me about any of this stuff. So before you start putting all the blame on me for not communicating,
I'm not blaming all on
I
you,
don't
Woody.
have the ability to read minds and know, I just need to be there.
I understand.
What's being said.
But when you send out emails to your people that they cannot talk to the commissioner, they're gonna lose their job. We have a document.
Speak to y'all about politics or anything to do with.
I understand.
the
You said
office.
especially the
Because
commissioner.
we have people that's trying to get inside information that they don't need.
Yeah, that's fine. That's all I have to say, Judge. I just wish we could communicate better.
I thought it worked 2 ways.
Yes, sir.
I got phone number 2.
Okay.
Hey, Woody, when you go back and watch that tape, I didn't say I hope the jail fails. You need to watch that again.
I did.
Well, I didn't say that. Why did you blurt it out in here? I said if it fails, they're gonna shut it down. I didn't say I hope it fails.
And we're gonna save a whole lot of money.
Well, get your quote right next time you quote me.
I'm just.
Okay.
Let's take a 10-minute break.
Okay. Awesome.
We ain't getting there by lunch.
No, this is all right. We all can die a little bit. We can die a little
Holding up, Warren. How you holding up?
I've gone into like kind of a trance thing where I just try to disassociate.
It's still small, but it's getting better.
Your nails were not, they're getting too missing, they're getting too big, because the ones that I have from this season.
I got it.
I'm gonna release them probably. They got enough. I appreciate it. Thank you.
How are you?
I'm very good, sir. Ryan's Frog here. Back during the big thunderstorms that we had last year, and county jail.
What?
San Diego County Jail got hit by lightning, blew the roof off. They had to ship all of their inmates out. Including the one Virginia.
Yeah. Had to put a whole new roof on.
Because they had to do all the repairs. They had that same agreement with Polk County. In order to keep the people on while they were going through the repairs.
And they got to do it.
And so they were able to work an agreement out with Polk County to have their jailers go there and work. Keep their jobs until the problem was solved. So I just wanted to give you that little heads up. So if you get somebody down there, they can probably tell you.
Did you give it to Carol?
I have not yet, no.
Would you?
Last year, I didn't bring coffee. I have something to drink.
Let me make one call. Can I help 5 minutes or 3 minutes?
I'll hold up for you. This meeting back to order, please. And, I need number 4, approve the minutes.
I read over them this morning, Your Honor, and everything seems to be in order, so move its adoption.
A second.
Both of them.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Sir?
She never said it. Yes, sir.
Number 5, discuss an act of approval on personal action forms.
Court. You'll see a few different personal action forms in here. We've got some.
Woody, I thought this animal control was a full-time position. This is a part-time. It's got it circled.
I don't think we have enough funds in full-time for it out there. What was the question?
The animal control is circled here. It's a part-time. It's not, I thought it was a full-time position.
So the same thing that we did with Brandon, because the individual who's working that doesn't need the insurance, in order to avoid the extra 13% or whatever that Bonnie had earmarked for insurance out of that grant, it's paid out as a part-time rate, so that when you don't have the insurance fringe benefit, you can extend the life of that grant by 13% or whatever it is for the insurance.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Don't have no official bonds. We're receive monthly payroll report.
All right, you've got your payroll report in front of you. You'll see the summary and breakdown of all that. We've got 76 full-time on payroll, 26 part-time, and 4 temp on payroll.
The total payroll was, 334, 169.
Right. That is correct, and that includes some that's coming out of the grant fund there as well.
You talking about that SB 22?
Well, the LAC fee funds.
It's 234 coming out of the general fund. Just the general fund portion of it's 234.
Exactly, 234, and out of each of the road and bridge funds there. So the total payroll was 334, 169.
Any more discussion? Go to the next one, 8, discuss an act of approval of receipt file listings, activity report, Trinity County debt schedule.
All right. You'll see all the receipts we received in. See the breakdown on page 5 there of how that was receipted in. Some bank accounts, you'll see the investment accounts there, were basically our investment money market account, basically. The average yield for the month was 4.4065%. And so those have been kind of maintaining. Right now, starting in September, there's a high expectation, greater than 90% yesterday, that they're gonna do a 25 basis point cut. And so that most likely is gonna mirror this whenever the Fed does that, to drop by 0.25% or 25 basis points. And you'll see each of those accounts there and the interest that was earned in each of the accounts. Obviously that operates as a high yield checking account for us, in a sense, right? A high yield savings account. So we can move monies out, very liquid. They're safe, they're liquid, and then we earn a little bit of yield on it. But that's the last consideration in the big scheme of public funds. So that has all the breakdowns for that, and then we've got our collateral at the local bank that's pledged against our monies there in the local bank. So they're fully collateralized. And then lastly is the debt schedule that's been updated through July there. And so.
Orin, are you still working toward consolidating or reducing some of these accounts that we had? You said we had like 86 or something.
Yeah, right. We are, we're in the middle of a big project still with the software company to get all of these items basically for the last 21 years fixed and adjusted to make sure that all this is good to go going forward. So that's been a multi-month process, and I know y'all are anxious to hear that. I am as well. I lose sleep over that, but they are working on that piece of it. Once we get that finished, and we've got a good buy-off from the auditors and everything, then we will move forward with trying to consolidate what
Make it
accounts
easier
we
for you.
can.
So
Absolutely.
these,
Got way too many.
on that first page down there at the bottom, it's got, savings, road and bridge, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this is an account, Tommy's got 2144, Mike's got 18 cents, and Stephen's got, I got 0, and Stephen's got 12. Why can't we delete those?
Yes, as soon as we can, we will. Right now, like I said, they're in the process of making sure that all the accounts are squared away. And then we will work on consolidating as many bank accounts as we possibly can at that point.
Didn't you say we need to be in the 25 or less?
Yeah, Cherokee County, north of us, that has quite a bit more people than we do. They have, I believe, their treasurer told me 13 accounts for their county, and we have mid-80s, almost 90. To put that in perspective, Harris County has less than 300 accounts, so I think it's 200 something accounts there. And obviously they're dealing with a whole different world, and they have 200 finance professionals just in their finance office there. So I feel like the way we're doing this is probably not the most efficient way, but until we can get all this stuff trued up with the historical side of this, I don't think we can close anything out yet, because that's part of it. They're going back and forth and making sure all this is cleaned up. So basically, again, just to recap, that was an old software system that we had that basically some of those items weren't being handled. The system was broken, basically. And so now they're fixing this, and we're getting this where we will be set for the future. So I know that's taken a few months so far, and that's where we're at with it. But they are working all the time on trying to get that up right now. So as soon as we know that, we'll let everyone know.
Or on the last page where it shows the indebtedness.
Yes, sir.
And the road and bridge 3.
Yes, sir.
The motor grader.
Yes, sir.
Oh, 30,000. Why have we paid that off, or are we gonna pay it off in September? I'm seeing 2 dates.
I don't think she's muted or something.
Are you muted, Ms. Bonner?
I am.
Oh.
I think, are you talking about one of yours was paid off? So we'll roll that out for the next, it should be off there. Is it on yours?
So the John Deere motor grader, the $30,000, we haven't paid that off yet. Like you said, that'll be in September. This is a July statement here.
So we'll pay it off in September, and then it won't show up next document.
Right. Once we pay that off, then it won't be on this report.
I make a motion we approve it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you.
Feels good to be out of debt.
Number 9, discuss an act of approval to seek possible from SDBGGOL for an engineering firm, and this concerns a grant for the roof. They built this courthouse and redone it, and then for some reason, they didn't replace the roof. The roof needs to be replaced. We're trying to seek funds to.
Is Miss Vicky in here?
She's not here.
I sat in with it, I can talk, a little about it. This was what we thought was gonna, which it is an infrastructure, grant opportunity. I sat in it because I thought that we could try to apply for some stuff for our roads. So anyway, you can file two different grants with the same grant. You can do basically 2 different jobs. We talked about the roof for the courthouse being one job, and I thought the second job could be buying some material for the roads, but that doesn't fall in. It has to be one certain job, so it has to be ABC road. It can't be any roads in all 4 of our precincts. So I figured that wasn't going to work out. So she read some more in there, and it said that we could do a community center / shelter. And we had already been in talks about maybe doing a community center out there at the Y, and so we thought that it'd be a good idea to bring it to y'all and say, you know, hey, this could be the second job. One being the courthouse roof, that's really expensive, and this grant can help with it. And then also the shelter / community center out at the Y would be a second job. So it has to be 2 specific jobs. It can't be bunched in all with a bunch of roads. So the infrastructure part wasn't going to help us, in my opinion.
It's a $2 million grant?
And it's a 10% match.
10% match.
I think you can do some in kind, if I'm not mistaken. I believe so. Bonnie's shaking her head yes. She sat in with the meeting as well. So,
Judge, are you sure that they didn't redo the roof when they redid this in 2008? Really?
Yeah, it's got to be redone.
With me sitting on that somewhat of committee, I'd rather let one of y'all make the.
I'll make the motion that we go with that recommendation.
All in favor?
Aye.
I think that was a good recommendation.
Yeah, what it was on that was, they had money funds and trying to find any kind of money for that area. Number 10, review and discuss agreement with Flocks for MVCCG award, the Sheriff's Department covering match funds for $10,625.
What is flock?
You know, I said in a class in conference about flocks, and it was really interesting. That's the camera system, correct? That's that's all over the place, basically. So you go ahead.
It's a camera system that works, that Ms. Vicky got a grant for. Basically, it's for, Texas is trying to combat converter theft and human trafficking type of stuff. So they're using this system that's integrated with other law enforcement agencies across the states, basically be able to track and control, or not control, but track information, or if you've got people that are involved in some type of illegal activity, they have a database they can
The way they pulled it up when I was in class was a white SUV with a dent in the back of the hatchback.
No motion.
Broke into a house in Groveton or wherever.
Yeah, it was interesting how.
Me and you said it on, that's right. And he typed it in this database that everywhere that has flock, which is a lot of areas around this area, typed in white SUV dent in the back, and it pulls up 150 different pictures of these different. And then he narrowed it down even further where the dent was on the left side, or what, you know. So it was really interesting. I said in that class. It was interesting.
Yeah, it was very interesting, and it helped solve cases so much quicker and everything else.
Texas is throwing money at it. They did like, I guess, $1.5 million down in Montgomery County for an auto theft task force. So they're trying to really get a hold on this precious metal theft, cattle conversion, and human trafficking stuff.
Yeah, it was very interesting class.
Lisa, it's on the. Lisa Rogers, it's on the agenda, review and discuss. Do we still need a motion on that?
Yes.
So moved.
It's a contract that we have, it's a contract that has to back to the court, is to go ahead and order those, but it required a contract with this company.
Make a motion, we approve it.
I second it. Absolutely.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Number 11, discuss an act approval on engineering services to remeasure road and bridge. Precinct roads.
All right, we've been talking about this for a while. We all know that our roads are not right in our book. They've been added, they've been took away, and changed. This was done in 2010 or 11, when they made that road book, and it's trying to get it updated.
Neil, I was asked, Lacey kind of headed this up, I believe, with the auditor's office, and she asked me to sit on it, and Colton sat in with it to review and grade these two companies that come in. I have just one issue with the whole ordeal, is that one of them was, that they're too far apart. One was totaling $190,000 to do it, and one, correct me if I'm wrong, Lacey, 13,000 or something to that, 10 to 16,000. So we averaged 13,000. So what I would like to do, if the court decides to redo this, and I would imagine, I mean, it was apples to apples. We read this, and I mean, the cheaper one had way more references, did a lot more more bang for your buck. But if we decide to do this, I would say we meet with the one we pick, whichever one that's going to be, and say, hey, this is what we're wanting to do. Maybe we had some other bids. The bids were way out of line. We need to pinpoint exactly what we want to do with this agency, and say, hey, can you do this, and is this the price for that? So I don't know if we pick today, which I would imagine. I mean, I know who I'd go with because I read all this material, and I, you know, you can see the grading. One was a 98.3, and one was a 50. So that should tell you which one that the committee decided to go with, if we was decided to go forward. Be $10,000 to $16,000 for the one that won the grading, and I would just suggest bring them in, maybe put it back on the agenda, bring those in and say, hey, this is what we want to do. Is this the guidelines of what you did? Because the other one was so far. I mean, it was $190,000.
Yeah. Well, I want to know exactly what y'all are trying to accomplish. Okay, you're going to hire this company to measure all the roads. You're going to get a total. But then what?
This company here makes a map, makes a new map for us, and all that. It's basically like the book we got, but they make a whole new map for us and everything of everything.
So they find a bunch of discrepancies. So what do we do then? Like,
that's some of the questions we
Well,
got.
we fix them. We fix the discrepancies in court as they go along with it, I would think.
I sat down with Jolynn a little bit. She has the database and stuff to do some of this, but with them coming in 10,000 to 16,000, I was thinking it was gonna be way more than that, and that's why we decided to put this on the agenda, just let everybody talk about it, because it's gonna take some time for Jolynn for sure to do it, and it's just, I mean, we don't have to do it. It's just an option that, you know, this is it. We can utilize Jolynn and see if we can, you know, do it there. You know.
Well, one of the benefits would be to know exactly what is our county road, because you got these builders that's coming in and they're building these places and they're telling people this is a county maintained road when it's not. I mean, and if you really want to get a real estate nightmare, there's a little place called Lake L Acres, and everybody on the side road thinks that that's county maintained, and it's not. And we need a legitimate map of what is a county road in our county. And that way, anybody that asks, they could even be a smaller plat to show them here when they come to the courthouse or whatever. But trying to get it correct. really is all we're trying to do.
In 2025, we should not have to wonder if this road's a county or not.
Yeah.
I've got roads that's fenced off in my precinct that I have never been on since I've been there. Mr. Bell told me if they had a gate across it, do not go in there. So I've never been in there. But they're showing it's my county road. Got several with gates across it.
So when you hire this company, are you gonna go tell the company to measure that road and go through the gate, or what are you gonna do?
We're gonna take it off the list.
Well, you don't have to hire a
if it's
company to take
fenced.
it off the list. That's what I'm saying. You can take it off tomorrow, or the next time we meet, you can take it off.
Well, it's been a mess ever since I've been here, David, and I think it ought to be addressed, but
I think the other thing is you guys are wanting to check, make sure your allocation percentages are in line with your roads. Is that correct?
that's been in effect since 2001, I wanna think, is when they broke down the percentages per precinct. But
And it doesn't mean that it'll vary much, but
No.
at least you would have a good road, a map. And then if there were any changes, it may only be a small percentage.
yes, but when we had the census, we all traded roads. I think Stephen and gave Tommy some, and Mike gave me 3, and it should all be in the book, right? I think.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes,
If
ma'am.
you
Yeah,
we
hire
need
these
to.
people, do your due diligence first and take the roads off, so they're not wasting their time, our money, measuring stuff that's eventually gonna come off, because I can give all of y'all a list of roads that of late hasn't touched since I've been here. Because I look and I drive and I know where the gates are, I know where the cow guards are, and I know
Well-
the ones that you can't get to a ditch to get to it, and there's got trees this tall on them, so it's not being maintained. So either we're gonna maintain them and take the money from the state, or we're gonna take them off.
I agree
I'll
with-
just do that.
I agree
Just
with
remove the ones
Tommy
we want.
that,
And
I
make
don't
sure
know.
the roads the names are spelled correctly, we have a big issue with that, spelling. On y'all signs, on the stop sign, and as well as text dot, 911 advance signs should match.
I think
But
I
do text
think
dot.
I've gave up on putting new signs because every one of them gets stolen. Every time I put it up, they get stolen. But what I'm suggesting is we don't more or less go with this company, come in and see what they can do for us, if it'll fit in our thoughts of what we want to do, and then, you know, sit down with you. I'd be willing, you know, I can think of a couple that's got gates on it, you know, and I can take them off or what have you, and if that'll help that way. I would like to at least have them come in because the pricing is so far off. I mean, it's way far.
You'll just table it and have them to come in?
Well, I don't know if, I mean, I don't think we're gonna go with this other company that's $199. So
we'll go with you.
I don't know if we could, do we need to vote on that? Bonnie, do we need to vote on that? Since they brought, we're gonna put in.
Yeah, I would recommend no matter when you decide to use the engineering services, at least you know you have an engineering services you can call upon. And you can negotiate with, you know, by talking to them, how much, you know, what roads you're gonna do. So if you wanna clean it up before they come in, that would be a great idea. And then you can show them what you need and they can give you a more firm price. But if you're looking for a local engineering service that does this and knows how to do it, that's why you need to make a choice, so you at least got that. We sent out to several engineering firms, and those are the only 2 that came back, and of course, the one that you rated the highest is the local, out of Lufkin. And they said they've been doing this for, you know, before, so they're familiar with it.
You can see their references in the back of who all they work for, and it's everybody around us.
We've picked them
Yeah.
for other things before. I think there's a water grant or something like that. We've chosen them.
Mhm.
Huh? Oh, subdivision rules and regulations? Okay. Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
is it Jed? Yeah.
Jed.
So, I guess do I need to make the motion to go with this company and just not decide to do it, but just decide if, after we clear some things up or get them in here to talk with them, that's who we're gonna pick, I guess. I guess that's the way we
All
need to
you're
do
doing
it.
is using the engineering service to talk to when you decide to do this.
Yes, okay. I'll make that in form of a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. So moved. Number 12, discuss and act approval on monthly financial report, July 2025. Morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Lisa.
How are you?
Good. Okay, this report represents 10 months of activity. Now, we are 10 months through the fiscal year. Our average overall percentage, we're at 83.3%. I want to note that in this financial report, this does not include county clerk, JP1 or JP3 receipts for July. We did not get those receipted in time to print this. We've been, working with budget and everything else. So that does not include those receipts. Our payroll percentage is at 84.6 right now, and you can see our property tax collection from the end of July. We're at 91% for that. On page 21, you can see for the general budget, our revenue, we're sitting at 89.44%, and our expenses are at 72.97. After the general report, you'll see the special funds, and then your road and bridge totals are there as well.
I do want to make a statement at the bottom of the general fund and show that we have, now again, this is July, we're already at the end of August. So we've got August and September months of expenses yet to account for. Our revenue is probably about all we're gonna have. I mean, we're not gonna get any large amounts of property tax coming in between now and September. So you can count on this changing pretty quickly for August and September. But it should still leave a balance to carry over.
Nobody has any questions, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 13, discuss and act on approval of claims and invoices for disaster-related purchases.
These disaster-related invoices are gonna be for August 8th through August 21st. You can see that we've paid out $28,568.28. And on the second page there is the expenditure report for those vendors.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa.
Number 14, discuss and act on approval on lease purchase 2 vehicles for the sheriff's department. Address that. Can you, I don't see him.
Jeremy out there?
Discuss and act on approval on lease purchase of those 2, if you'd like.
The vehicle, it's just on that line item if you want to talk about it or what have you.
Yeah, so,
Would you mind coming on up
Yeah.
so they can check?
So the two vehicles that we're looking at doing is basically doing a lease purchase program, kind of what Angelina County does for their fleet, but also I believe what y'all are doing for y'all's maintainers is getting on a kind of a rotation. I've got three trucks that are fixing to, or one of them's fixing to go back for that old Enterprise lease that has 136,000 miles. Then I have two 2020s that are combined about 300,000 miles, one of which has a constant exhaust issue or leak that we're facing. So we reached out to Bonnie, you have to help me on the banks, but I think one in Wichita Falls and maybe Cadence Bank to see what they could do as far as doing a lease purchase agreement with them. And in that also will cover the cost of the equipment plus the radios, which is all stuff that we've been having to recycle, and it's each reaching the end of life. So rather than using the budget line items as a kind of a one-time purchase, we're basically able to kind of extend it and get two vehicles for the price of one budget cycle expenditure, if you will, over the course of 3 years. We have some funds that are going to come from this budget cycle, and then some of another line item that we have that'll go towards the cost of it. And if I recall correctly, Bonnie, correct me if I'm wrong, but we would basically be able to extend it to where our first payment wouldn't be due until September of 2027. Does that sound right, Bonnie?
Well, it'll probably be due, yeah, it'll be in the not this next budget year, but the first payment will be made in the following fiscal year. So it'll be deferred.
So essentially, we get the two vehicles for a year or so before we make the first payment on it. We have funds that are in our line item now that we would put towards the down payment for that to pay that off. And then each year, if we had money like from Senate Bill 22 money that's left over, rather than going back, we could use that money to fund the principal amount to bring that payment down and hopefully pay it off a year earlier. But that would put us on track to do kind of like a 3-year rotation. So as these vehicles are getting out, agencies will either do engine hours, mileage, or a flat out year. And we're kind of doing a hybrid of all of those. Like I said, we have the Enterprise truck that goes back in September, and then two vehicles that we got in 2020 that are, one of them has 141,000 miles and the other one has 161,000. And it's just, we're gonna have to start replacing this equipment. So.
Is that the last of the Enterprise cars?
This last one is, yes, that goes back in September, next month.
When we lease those, at the end of the lease, we could buy it for $1. Is that right?
For Enterprise or for this program?
Enterprise.
I don't know. The Enterprise deal was before me. I don't think so. I think that Enterprise has some other issues, and I think Bonnie's been trying to deal with the final payments issues with them.
Am I right, Bonnie?
Enterprise is not very easy to work with, and
they were a great company when we went with them.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, they sold us anyway, but sending back those vehicles, we're not getting us money back for those. It's costing us more money. So that type of lease agreement with Enterprise is not something we want to do again, in my opinion.
I agree with Bonnie.
So we're going through,
I said I agree with you, Bonnie.
yeah.
Two questions. Is this the same kind of lease program as Enterprise, or
no? This is the same that y'all are doing for like y'all's maintainers. Your big equipment, it's doing a 3 to 5 year plan with them, with yearly installments, and then you do the final price of what was it?
It's like a buyback option.
Do what?
Kind of. That's what, when I first took over, the previous commissioner had buyback options. Like we get a maintainer for 3 years, and then they'll give you a certain amount of money.
No, we'll outright own these afterwards. Basically, they're financing the trucks for 3 years for us, essentially. Bonnie, is that correct?
Yes, we're just going to the same banks as you guys I would normally go to for your lease purchase, and you have a choice to purchase it and keep it or to return them. But the fleets that we're talking to, I don't know if they're prepared to do a turnaround after 3 years. That's, the bank is going to talk to them about that, but they will pay the vendors, they will pay all the vendors directly from the bank if we go on this lease purchase plan, and then we pay the bank, just like we do on your equipment.
So in between all this, all the money is coming out of y'all's budget. You got to figure it out to come out of your budget. Okay. So we're not going with trucks anymore. We're going with
the trucks have, unless they come back down, the trucks that we were getting for 41 or so are now at 48. And so we're getting the Durangos, the all-wheel drives, which have the same kind of ground clearance, just more space for less than what we were getting on the trucks. And the agencies that I've talked to that are running the Durangos have no complaints on them. So we figured you still have the same ground clearance, all-wheel drive. For the price, we're gonna get more truck, more equipment for
I
that
take
price.
that as somewhat of a compliment, saying our roads are getting better, we don't need trucks.
Well,
I like
we're getting
that
there.
idea.
We're getting there.
Well, might well get it off my chest right now. I'm all behind buying new vehicles for the sheriff's department. When Woody took office, same day I did, he had a fleet over there that was wore completely out. Prior administration had allowed the officers to drive their cars home, and they drove them to Pollock and Conroe and I don't know where else. And my understanding that we're doing that now. You're putting 80 miles a day on the truck before you ever start your job, driving one back and forth to Huntsville. Is that right?
80 miles a day, no, sir. I get to the county line in 20 miles. Not to mention the ability for me to be recalled in the middle of the night for other emergency situations. It would be pointless for me to drive from my house to the sheriff's office to pick up a truck, then to go back to the crime scene.
I understand completely. But we've got I've been told that there's 4 trucks going out of county to other counties. That's why we're getting all the miles on the cars. Now, the sheriff told me that if they lived in the county, they could carry it home, but if they didn't, he wasn't gonna allow them to go out of the county. That policy has changed, and I don't like it at all. I don't think it's right.
Well, that policy's changed because pay has gone up so much in the other counties, we can't keep people here unless we get some sort of consent.
I knew you'd have a reason and
We don't wanna
excuse.
pay these people what they make everywhere else, so we give them something to do, yes.
Okay, well, I'm just one, but,
Do yours have take-home vehicles?
yes,
Okay.
they're in the county.
But I can't hire them inside the county, I don't have that luxury, you got to have a police degree on it.
Did you always let them carry them home? Or did you just start that?
Now, they've been doing it for quite a while.
I know. About a year.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
So you want me to just lose deputies because we can't afford to pay what the other counties?
I don't want you to lose nothing, but I want you to go back to what you agreed with when you came to my house.
It's changed in 13 years, Neil. That's been
Okay.
13 years ago. You're not running your office the same way you started running 13 years ago either. Things changed.
Okay.
Okay?
I'm not gonna be for vehicles going out of this county.
Well, I understand that.
I'm just one, y'all vote how you want
But you
to.
can't hold that against us as far as getting us new vehicles when we need them.
Well, if you wasn't putting no extra miles on them, you wouldn't have to have them.
Really?
Really?
So you're gonna start paying the deputies more?
I ain't paying them no more.
That's what I thought.
I said what I had to say. I'm not gonna argue with you. Huh?
We make less than any other county around us.
I know, and it don't matter what we do, it's still never gonna be enough. It's never gonna be enough. So, that's the way I feel about it.
Anybody wanna make a motion on that?
You got any budget, I'll make a motion. Let me do it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
No, all opposed, me.
Was you opposed to?
Yeah.
I'll break the vote. I'll put it in there. I'm leaving with y'all. I think they need it.
I didn't say they didn't need it.
Yes.
I said we're abusing it by running them in 3 different counties that I know of.
Yes, sir. Well,
60, 80 miles a day on a vehicle
yes, sir.
to get to the job.
Now you're trying to run my office.
No, I'm not trying to run the office, but you stood in my driveway and you told me that you would not do that. I'm not gonna try to run your office.
Tell me how, what I can do.
I'm gonna run this.
It's already passed. Let's go.
You can't control told me, now you want to destroy me. You've been trying to do that for a while now.
Well, you have too.
Let's go. It's already passed.
That's fine, Judge. Move on.
Okay. Number 15, discuss an act on approval on authorization. Authorize county auditor to secure financing for sheriff's vehicle and equipment. That's you, Miss Bonnie.
Received 2 quotes from Hades Bank and First National Bank of Wichita. Hades Bank has the less lease rate of 5.03%. First National is at 5.65. If we get ready to do this, with the interest rates going down, it may even go lower. But I would go with the lowest lease rate, 5%. And they lumped everything together as we requested, along with a down payment. And so the yearly payments would be at $37,494 a year.
And Bonnie, they have, this is all in their budget, correct? Not coming from?
They have the down payment, and then in their capital asset line item in their budgets, they should, yes, they have that much to pay for that annual payment. We'll have to make sure it's in every fiscal year. We won't be paying it now. We won't be paying, we're paying it in October of 2026, which will be in the 27 budget season. The first payment.
Have we used this? Have we used this Cadence Bank before? The Cadence Bank, have we used them?
Oh, yeah.
I know we use Wichita Falls, like my stuff's through Wichita Falls.
Cadence used to be called Bancorp. We currently have used equipment on Cadence that you're paying loans on. Yes.
Have you, okay.
I'm making a motion, we go with Cadence.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. 16, discuss an act on accepting donations of the City of Groveton Animal Control Truck to Trinity County Sheriff's Department.
Make a motion, we approve it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 18, discuss an act.
17, yeah.
Oh, I see. Receive monthly report for Trinity County Sheriff's Department. I'm sorry. 17.
All right. Go to it real quick. Go through and look at our monthly jail and call report. Total number of inmates in custody right now is 34. We've been averaging about 36 a day. So that's come down quite a bit. People are starting to behave a little bit. We made 43 arrests. It says it's in July. It says January, but it's in July. The total inmates that I think we handled was 88. Our cost, inmate contract housing is going to be $76,890. It's gone back up considerably since we lost our variance. Inmate transport cost is always an issue. We traveled 3,000 miles last month. When you put that with the payroll and paying somebody, you spent $4,000 transporting inmates. Inmate medical was $8,759, making our total inmate monthly cost $89,000 for last month. The next one is our classification of different reports, different as far as different calls. This is the most ones that we get. You can kind of go through them and look and see for yourself what you look. If you got any questions, I'll be glad to answer. We did 108 traffic stops last month. That issued 35 tickets and 62 warnings. We had a total of 1,394 911 calls. This is what we talk about when dispatch is overwhelmed. Just imagine 1,394 calls coming in a month from dispatch 911, and some of it's just nothing, but they still take up our time. Total animal calls was 52. The animal calls has gone back up since we haven't had an animal control officer for a few months, so it's kind of starting to accumulate back. We had them under control for a little while, and
that little mishap, now we're back down. We had 889 incidents last month. You can go to the jail report. You talk about, you can look on the report there and see every day that it says inmates were denied. That's jails that we called and we needed to transport inmates, and they denied us because they were either full or couldn't take the inmate that we were going to send, whether it be a female or somebody with medical or whatnot. But these are all denied cases of letting us bring inmates. So finding inmates, beds for inmates is still an issue, and it's going to always be an issue. Angelina County is getting close to finishing their new construction. The sheriff reached out to me about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and his first deal was they were going to take bids to see who wanted to pay the most for their beds. I asked him what it was going to say, and he said his commissioners wouldn't take no less than $100 a day per bed. I told him we couldn't do that, and it just wasn't going to be feasible for us because we could still get $65 and $75 a day in other counties close. He called me back the next day and said that he spoke with his county judge, and that they agreed that they would take $75 a day for jails for counties that touch their county to be good neighbors. So they said that they would reduce the price to any county that touches them for $75 a day. However, they want a guaranteed amount of beds that we're going to take per month. So in other words, they want us to choose either 20 or 30 or 40 beds per month and pay them regardless if we have inmates there or not. I have mixed feelings about that, but I'm going to leave that solely up to y'all. If you decide that that's what you want to do, we'll go with it. I told him to put a contract together and send it over, his judge to send it over to you, Judge, and y'all can sit down and talk about that and see if that's what we wanted to do. But you also got to take the fact that he's not going to run again, he said, so if the next sheriff comes in, will they honor that? I don't know.
When's their jail now? Did you say it's going to be
He
done?
said it's supposed to be done in June, but I guess they keep getting pushed back. He called me last week, said they were ready to accept the contract. We were ready. I said, send it over, we'll look at it, and they'd have to prove it, so. Hopefully we can work something out. I just don't want to be paying for beds that we're not using. So I guess that means we'd probably still have to keep a contract. The good thing about him, he did say that he doesn't care. He would be an inmate business. He's not going to call us every time one acts up and say, come get it. He's going to accept all our females. We're not going to have to be chasing down inmates all the way to Boss County because he won't take it, because that's normally the only county that'll take females.
So will he let us name the number of beds that we're going to get?
Yes.
10?
I'm sorry?
10? We bought 10
Whatever
beds,
y'all
right?
decide to do. If we want 10 a month, 20 a month.
Good. We got a.
Well, they're gonna get the contract, send it over, and then y'all can fill in the blank. I tell you, fill in the blank, we'll leave it blank for how many beds, and we'd fill it in and send it back. I mean, if we did 10 or 20, I think 20 is a safe number. I don't know that we've been less than 20 inmates in the last 10 years. Very few times we may have gotten down that low. I don't see it getting much lower than we are right now. I think we're pretty low right now. So, has the Houston County, have they ever offered anything like that to you? As in, we've talked about it a time or two, but they've never come back and said anything. Nothing like name? And they're really picky on inmates. They tell us a lot of times no to this one, come pick this one up. The problem is if it's a problem inmate, they don't want them. Senate County's been pretty good about keeping inmates, but they're an hour away, so.
Would they let us house all of our inmates over there if that's what we decide
Yes.
to do in Angelina County?
But we don't know what the number is.
So let's just say
So we
if
went
we-
over and said, we're gonna get 30 beds a month from you.
Yeah, that's what I was
And then if we only have 25 over there, we're still paying for 30.
Yeah, right.
And also, he just told us that he's got a year or two that he's gonna get out, right?
Well, Tom is not gonna run again.
Yeah.
He said this is his last term, and
So
so.
you may have new dealings when you get there.
Well, a new sheriff may say, I don't want to keep inmates from anybody else, and that's the risk we run. So if he can always say no, I don't know that that's going to happen. It just depends on who gets in there. But I know they're doing this right now to make money. They're trying to offset their cost of the jail that they just built.
I know most of these contracts are 1 year. Can we extend that? Because they could, if we did with the county did like a 3-year deal, that's, if the jail passes, that's kind of what we've been gauging, that's when it's gonna get built. If we could extend it for a 3-year deal, they could budget for 3 years and hire the people they need to hire, because they know guaranteed Trinity County's gonna give us this amount of money. I guess my question is, it can only go for 1 year? Can we do it longer for like 3 years to kind of extend out?
I don't guess they would have a problem with that, I don't know.
I think that would cover the sheriff
I don't
issue,
know
I
that they're
think.
going to stay with that same price either. Like I said, they come at me the first time with $100 a day, and I told them no.
Well,
Tom, to answer your question, you could agree on anything you like, usually, you know, but there's gonna be something in there to where they
There's
can
gonna be a
break it off
clause.
if they
that
want.
they can get off.
You know, a renewal every year, you know, or something like that, but, you know, that's all negotiations.
And there's always ways they can always say no. It's like the sheriff over in San Jacinto County, when he got mad he lost the election, the first thing he did was, come get your names, we don't have enough, whatever reason, he just come up with some other reason and said, come get them. So,
Didn't we have something in there with San Jack where they had to do something and it kinda, like at first he said get everybody out, but then he said he had
Well,
to
then we
keep
brought
the
'em back.
remaining ones in there.
and we brought them back, and then they kicked us out again whenever the roof got tore off of that storm.
I think you couldn't bring any more new ones, but the ones they
If
had.
you
they
picked them up,
kept
you
to-
could not bring them back.
Yeah.
Once they went to court, you couldn't bring them back. So, that's that. Monthly citations and morning reports, you can go over that and see what the tickets are. All that's pretty self-explanatory. The environmental hours, you got the hours and the mileage, they all turn in their own reports. You can look at that. The 258th and the 411 district dockets, they're all in there. You can look at that and see. We still have inmates that are sitting in jail. Bad news is the ones that we got in there right now on I think that is a capital murder, am I correct? They're sitting on capital murder charges, and the judge recused himself, basically starting the whole process over.
I think we set for December.
And we're looking at maybe it's December, so Benny anticipates that they'll probably be sitting in jail probably close to another year, we'll see. We've already had them over 2 years now, but I think that's where we got the $61,000 check back, giving us money back for them, because I think the state, some sort of grant, give us money back for holding capital murders in jail. Your monthly grand jury report. I don't see it in here. I don't know where it is. It's in here. You can see how many people got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 of them got indicted. It's good to see Trinity PD is now putting people back on that list. They're having a regular, grand jury as well. They used to go months without putting anybody on there. Now every month they got 2 or 3, which is excellent. You got the inmate roster on there. Our inmate roster is live online. Anybody can look at it any time, and you can see what they're in there for, and where they're being housed. This tells you right here, we got some in San Jacinto County, some in Houston County. I think that's pretty much where all we got them in right now anyways. Monthly animal control. There's a list of all the complaints that we've got. As you know, we've hired a new person. She's just now getting her feet on the ground. I think she's doing a fairly good job. I think she's gonna probably do just as good a job, if not better. The old boy that was there last time was doing a good job. He just had some sort of extracurricular activity didn't align with the laws of the state of Texas, so we couldn't keep him. You got your monthly receipt reports if you want to look at that and see what we've done for the city of Groveton. There is some talk from them, and it's going to be brought up, I guess, in their budget hearing, whether they want to continue with the funding two officers. Seems like they got it in their head that they don't have to pay for it. We still have to do it anyways.
Well, one saw me at the school the other day and talked to me a little about it, and they were kind of on what you're saying, kind of on the edge of what they're going to do. But when we voted on this thing 2 years ago, you said it. You thought it was supposed to be a 2-year deal for them to get back on their feet and try to get their stuff. But from what I understand, they haven't even.
But they don't have a police department. They've lost their status in the police department.
Haven't even explored that to reopen the police department at all.
It would be very expensive to them, and it will take an act of Congress to get it back. They completely lost their number, everything. They shut it down. TICO closed their department down. So in order to do it, they got to refile for another police department. If they do that, that's going to put us into a bind, because that means we're going to have to get rid of 2 police officers, because that's funded by them. That's gonna be a really bad thing, in my opinion. It's gonna put us in a bind. And it's also going to limit the people of Groveton services, because right now we're there within 5 minutes, but if we don't have that extra manpower, we're gonna be out of the county. They're not gonna be guaranteed a response time. And I'm pretty much convinced that we're not gonna work felonies or any other follow-up crimes. We will respond to emergency situations, but after that, we're not gonna do nothing in the city of Groveton if they choose not to pay for their police department. I think that they're required by law to provide it, but in their head, somehow they got it in their head that they don't have to. And I don't know what they're gonna do, that's just the talk right now. But either way, if you know any of them, you might ought to explain to them that's not gonna be a good idea for the county or us. It's gonna put us in a bind.
What was the first part of that deal? I didn't hear you about the Groveton Police Department. What was the concern?
They're not going to fund 2 positions anymore. That they're going to just, they basically, they told me that if we don't provide them, you still have to provide a service. Which is true to a certain extent. We don't investigate crimes, but we will take emergency calls, yes.
So what happens to crimes if?
I guess it goes through the roof. It's not gonna be a good thing, and we already stressed, I mean, we're already stretched our limits in the county already. We can't lose 2 people and continue to take the city of Groveton like we're doing, so. I'm speaking with them still. It's not been a decision that's been made, but I have been told that it's possibly coming. As you can see, the city calls in July, we had 44 calls in the city of Groveton. And then you can see their monthly warnings and all that reports, the same thing we do for the county, we provide for the city, that they have all the citations and all that listed. And then also the monthly control for the city. We're actually we're doing the animal control for the city of Groveton, which we're just kind of doing that as a favor to them, because they need it, and they haven't moved forward with hiring them an animal control person, so. I don't know where that's gonna go. We talked to the city of Trinity about possibly going in together on a animal control spot that would take over the whole county, but they have really not moved forward with that either. I think they're gonna go their own route, so we're at the mercy of this grant, and if we decide to put it back in the budget, I guess that's y'all's call. But we're gonna have to figure out something to do with animal control, because the animal calls are not going down. Any questions? Well, that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Okay, number 18, discuss an act with the Sheriff's Department accepting donations from Jimmy and Susan Tarver for tasers.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let me just give them a applaud here. They live in my precinct. Both of them are great people, and they do a lot with the kids, and also, a lot with the Sheriff's Department, but they really donate a lot to the children in this community, so that they need a pat on the back. So.
Hey, I'm gonna take another break for 10 minutes, please.
Judge, thank you.
Bring this meeting back to order. Number 19, discuss an act of approval on the reports of the month of July 2025. This is Nancy's office. Sangersville, $19,588.85. $19,588.85. Judge Mary Wallace, $8,471.51. $8,471.51. Judge Keith Johnson, $67.65. That was for Lyle Stubbs' precinct. His precinct was 916916.
Which precinct was that?
That was 3.
First one was 2, Neil.
First
He
one
did
was
that.
2. Mm-hmm.
Precinct 2.
Yeah.
And precinct 3 was how much? 9,000?
916916. Just want to thank you for.
Yes.
Thank you, still here. Yeah, there you are.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for stepping up and taking care of all the law stuff.
Really appreciate it, Keith. Thank you.
Richard Steptoe, precinct 4, 941253. Shasta Bergman, 23,561 even. 23,561 even. Julian Steptoe, clerk, 14,337. 14,337 even. Trinity County Sheriff's Department, 1960 even. $1,960 even. Hot checks, $1,713.46. set that across there. Pretrial is $29,718.84. $29,718.84.
That goes on.
That was just a back, yeah.
Back up. Number 20, discuss an act. I'm sorry?
You have to approve
You got
that.
approval.
Oh, okay.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, before we move on though, this report on the courthouse, it's inspected, was that due to our insurance or what?
I had a guy
Yes, that
come.
was from TAC. They came and did that inspection as part of, just their oversight. They met with Becky first and then they met with me afterwards.
And they inspected the, airport and all that too, so everything that I guess we got insurance on.
Well, TAC was here for the courthouse. I don't know if TAC was at the airport.
Was
Yeah, they got,
They airport
had a
too,
report
yeah.
in
They
there.
made all the buildings.
Yeah.
Becky
They didn't
put that
come to our
report.
yards, right?
No.
No, I don't know.
Never heard of it. Okay.
Wherever Becky went with that guy that he asked to see him, she took it.
Okay.
Number 20, discuss an act and order approving holiday schedule for 2026.
Make a motion we approve them.
We've added a day here somewhere, because there's 16. Juneteenth was added.
We did that 2 years ago. But that was the last holiday.
I'll second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Discuss an act on resolution for regarding the 2025 tax roll received from Trinity County Appraisal District. Gary Glenn.
I just noticed when I read this thing, you see the anticipated collection rate?
99.72.
72%.
99.72.
Yeah, that's amazing, it's never been that high.
They don't leave much margin for error there.
No.
No, that jumped up several points.
So usually 96 or 97 or
96
something.
points.
It used to be like 92, 93 when Doug was here, because
I think last year, and the year before,
Like 96.2 or something like that.
maybe 96 or something last year.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
That's it. I hope it does come through. That's unbelievable. Wouldn't you?
Judge, you need to call for a vote.
I need.
You have a motion.
Have a motion.
And a second.
I seconded it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye. Mm-hmm. Where's it say it on there?
Right up in front.
Yeah. Number 22.
Yeah, we got it, yeah. Okay, number 22, submission of the it'd be the new revenue and voter approval rollback rates for 2025.
That's setting the rate at 52.9.
Mine says.
It goes, it's really 53.
56. Bonnie, are you looking at this?
0.539?
I don't think you got.
Number 22.
Uh-huh.
All this is the same information we have on that tax rate scenario that you sent over, so this is on a break form, so it shows you the revenue rate and then the voter approval rate. It's just submitting it on record. There's no action required.
It's laying on the table, it's probably up under there.
Okay.
I think he's missing a sheet.
I am.
The one that I got. It shows 53.9 on there. And then
It was on top of your packet. One of the ones on top. It came in late.
Okay.
well, I'm making a motion we stick
It
with
ain't no
53.9.
vote on it, is it? It ain't no vote on it. The submission.
It says aye or nays.
I see it.
Yeah.
But on the agenda, number 22, read number 22, it says submission to the new revenue effective voters approval rollback rate for 2025. Don't say discussion and action on it though.
Just said submission.
Is that right, Lisa?
There's no action required. This is the submission of the rates
Okay.
from the appraisal district
All right,
office.
sounds
No
good.
action required.
All right.
Okay.
Now, 23.
Discuss and act on proposed tax rate for 2025.
I'll make a motion, we keep it at 539, 53.9.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
'24, discuss and act on setting a public hearing for September 23rd to adopt the 2026 budget.
So move.
Second.
All
Stephen.
in, all in favor?
Aye.
Tax rate
Yeah.
difference.
Discuss and act on setting a public hearing for September 23rd on the proposed tax rate.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
26, discuss the salaries, expenses, allowances of elected officials for 2026. Like we left it all the same for everybody.
I think we all make it plenty.
I make a motion, we approve these.
Wait.
It ain't no motion, no.
Has this already been in the paper?
No.
No, this is not.
It has not been.
What now?
It has not been in the paper.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking at Colton Hay, we're gonna give him a vehicle allowance.
I asked that question, and that, I actually asked it yesterday when I was looking over this. If we're still in the budget part of it, there's still time to put it in the paper, so that can be amended if everybody decides to give the vehicle allowance.
Okay.
Before it gets put in the paper.
Right. Is there a certain date, Lisa, that this has to run in the paper?
Yes, I need to go ahead and put it in the paper. So in the budget, we are talking about the budget, y'all can decide today if you're gonna give him the allowance or not. And then I can go ahead and add it in here before I run it.
But we can't make a motion on it because it's just,
I don't really need you to make a motion yet. This is just making sure y'all are in agreement so that I can do the salary letters that have to go out to the elected
It
officials.
just says discuss, we don't have.
all right, we all in agreement to give Colton the
Yes.
deal?
Yes.
All right, Judge, let's move on.
27, discuss the budget development.
Judge, if you will, before we get into that, I wanted to talk to y'all a little bit about some homework that I've been doing, and I've discussed it with our attorneys for this jail, and I want to give it to each elected official so they can look at it. And what I'm going to do is I made a simple spreadsheet on the exact cost of the jail, what the bond's going to be, the operation, and a couple different scenarios, and also the past 5 years. I went back 5 years, so I've emailed it to our attorney, and also emailed it to Mr. Rosenberg, and also Colton and Orrin as well, because they wanted them involved. It's all facts, all of it's numbers, so when somebody comes and asks me for my opinion or what have you, I'm just going to give them this and say, this is the facts of the jail, this is what it's all going to cost, and it's all proven. So I would like to give it to you and give it to the other elected officials.
Where did you come up with the operation expenses from?
$60 a day off of.
That's not gonna be correct. That's gotta be done accurately.
There's no way to accurately do that. It's an average.
I've just emailed 254 sheriffs last week, and they come back to me that it was costing them anywhere from $40 a day to keep inmates to $100 a day to keep inmates. There's no exact amount. It's gonna factor in how much you're paying your help and how much help you got. The ones that were paying $75, $85, $95 a day to keep their own inmates, is what they're reporting. They pay their people a lot more and they're overstaffed. We're gonna have to sit down. I want that $60, I already asked Orrin this, I want it broken down, because I'm not gonna stand for that to go out until we know it's true.
Well, that's fine.
Because it's not gonna cost, our budget to run that jail right now, with the exception of electricity and water, and the amount of food, which all that factors in when we spend $75, $85 a day for the other inmates over there. That number is not correct, and I want it corrected before it goes out.
So our treasurer did background on it, called everybody, did all the numbers. That's numbers we're going off of, or that's numbers I'm going off of. And it's averaging $60. And I put cliff notes down the bottom that said this is average, this is the average cost of our surrounding counties, what the information we've gathered. It's all the operation side of it. I mean, 1 month you could have 2 inmates in there, 1 month you could have 60. So there's no way to judge how much that's going to cost. unless you do the background and the homework on different counties, and what they're charging and what their cost per inmate per day is. So, and it's, I mean, when is this information gonna come out? I mean, he did the homework on it, he's done it.
Okay. When you call a jail and say how much you keep inmates, and they're paying $55,000 to $60,000 a day for their jailers, and we're paying $40,000, that's gonna factor in a huge difference. Those jails are paying their people more money than we're paying ours.
We're not paying 40 though. I think our average cost is $86 a day here at this jail.
No. Again, there's different numbers factored in.
I mean, this is the most accurate.
Right now, you're basing that on, there's dispatchers sitting there that is not acting as jailers when they were all upstairs. They were just acting as jailers to book them in.
We're not basing that on.
Until you draw out a plan and say, this is how many employees you're gonna have, this is how much electricity it's gonna take, this is how much water it's gonna take. You're not gonna be able to figure out how much it's gonna cost. You're not gonna budget the jail at $60 per inmate. You're gonna have a budget for the jail. Whether it be I think our budget now is like $1.4 million to run that jail right now, including spending our inmates up. And I will be very hard pressed to say we'll go over any higher than that to run for. We're basically staffed right now to run a 45-man bed jail, a 48-man bed jail. We're staffed for it right now. Because if you don't matter how many you got, if you got 9 upstairs or you got 48 upstairs, you've got to have that extra person. We're not going to have to hire any more staff.
Does the piece of paper say this is an average cost, you know, or something like that? This isn't, it doesn't specifically say this is what it will cost?
Yes.
It just says
The operation side of it is average, no matter, there's no way to say this is gonna cost this amount this month. There's no way on the operation side of it.
So we put that, and I mean, could we put in some kind of disclaimer that actual costs may vary or something like that, like in those you see on commercials?
I think we can come up with a very true, a closer true number, and that's.
We haven't even looked at it. I think it looks pretty good.
Let me look at it.
You don't want it out there.
It's $60 a day.
See, that's
you give it to me to look at. It's not putting it out there, Tommy. It's giving me.
That's why I just said I'm gonna give it to all the elected officials to look at it when they get asked the question, so none of us get in trouble. It's all accurate. There's no way to do the operation, Woody. There's not.
There he is.
Okay. So you're gonna be able to pinpoint exactly
You
how
know
much.
exactly how many people you gotta hire, and how much you're gonna pay them. That is the most expensive part of keeping a jail.
When you look at different jails and you ask them what is their cost per day, they averaged it. It cost them average $60 a day.
That was.
And that's all involved in, that's turnkey.
Jails we talked to around us. I have called all the jails in the state, and they've sent me anywhere between $40 a day and $85 a day. It could be more than that. You don't know, and I don't want that number to go out until it's true. If it's $75 a day, I want people to know that's what it's going to cost. I want the 100. I want to be able to somebody to sign that and that's exactly what it's going to cost, give or take.
Okay, well, let's move on. Obviously, that didn't help at all.
To everybody, the auditors is the one that come back with the figures, Woody. Come back to Oren here. And that was Tyler County, that was Crockett.
Not what it's gonna cost us to run out.
Angelina. That was all the ones that touched us.
So do we say it's costing us $86 a day now? Because that's what it's costing us.
I wanna tell people the truth.
If I could jump in there, I think it's dangerous to say it's going to cost exactly this.
No, I do.
I think we need to give them an average number.
We need to have a basic budget. What is the budget going to cost to run a 48-man bed jail? Not to say it's going to cost much per inmate per day, because that's going to change. If you have 50 inmates in there tomorrow, or you have 20 inmates in there the next day, obviously
that's what's average.
You can't base it on it's $60 per inmate per day. You're going to have to put that projected in there as the entire budget. What we're going to budget for this jail to operate. If we build a 48-man bed jail, what is the budget going to be to run that jail? It's not going to change from day to day as far as how much we're spending. The payroll is going to stay the same.
What did you say the jail is costing now?
I haven't said anything that's costing.
I thought you just said it was 1.2 million to run this jail.
I said our budget for that, I think, is not just for this. I'm talking about for everything. I think it's 1.2
But you said
million.
your staff for a 48-man jail right now is about 1.2 million.
Yes.
What is
I'm
your
talking
figure?
about our budget. Not
Yeah. What's your figure there? for operation.
I didn't know it was gonna be this big of a deal, or I wouldn't even have said nothing about it. I just did my own thing and not involved anybody or helped them out. I've got 100% capacity, which is not gonna be. At $60 a day, it's gonna be 1.314.
Then we're cheaper than we are now.
So that's why
Go ahead.
but with the savings of, with the savings of 721,000, that's average of what we spent out of county the past 5 years. So, I mean, I'm not either side. I'm trying to tell you, this is
All I'm asking
decent.
is we make sure that we know that's the fact. I don't want anybody to come back and tell me.
It's not a fact on the operations side of it, no, but it says down the bottom there's average.
Let me get this right, we're paying 1.2 million, is that what you said?
Our
That's our
budget,
budget, for our budget for this jail, and we're paying for out of town housing too?
No, the whole, he's saying the whole budget is 1.2, 1.3.
Oh, that
What we're
is
paying,
housing amounts too, yeah.
what we're paying out of the county, out of that budget.
I'm pretty certain that we can run a 48-man jail if we build one for that or less.
Our average past 5 years, what we're paying outside the county is 721,000. So that comes out of the budget he's talking about. The rest of it is for over here, all the stuff over here, the employees, all that. But that's, we'll leave that alone. I'll do my thing and everybody else can do theirs.
Well, my point was this, you said we're staffed now, we could run a 48-man jail, and our budget is 1.2 million.
Is it 1.2 or 1.4?
I think he said 1.2.
1.4 million.
1.4 million to run that budget, okay. His figure is less, but what I'm saying, that's at $60 a day. And so you're housing them out at 75 and stuff like 65, so that's a good ballpark figure, but you could have a disclaimer, this is what projections look like, or something like that.
So, and the only reason this is something I feel like we need to talk about now, I spoke with Jonathan Frails, and it wouldn't be good for any, for or against it, to be kind of going at each other's throats and filing ethical complaints and everything like that. You need to present the facts. You don't need to persuade somebody one way or the other, especially on county time with county resources, right? But presenting the facts is okay, right? But if we present some facts that we know, generally speaking, the sheriff could potentially have a problem with, it'd be to our benefit to kind of nip that in the bud, so a month later we don't have some ethical investigator with the Texas Commission coming in and it gets blown out of proportion. So if you list, hey, $60 a day average collected from such and such county in our area is what we've got, that's fine, right? That's a fact if you checked it up. However, I do think before it's put into circulation or something like that, it might be worth it in the interest of the court and the sheriff's office kind of mending the bridge and talking about things. It would save everybody a lot of time if y'all met and looked at this thing and kind of addressed the problems beforehand.
Well, that's the first time I'm hearing about this. No one comes to me and talk to me about it.
I come to you last week. When's the last time you come to me? You're saying it works both ways?
You didn't bring that in there and say this is what you want to hand out as distribute to the public. You did not do that.
Well,
But
that's the fact. It's the
and like you
facts.
say, since it's the facts, he can do it,
Yep.
right? I'm just saying, it'd be worth it in the long run.
We all need to be on the same page. What's going out of our office?
We can tell that's not going to happen.
I want to give out stuff that you don't prove to me first.
Tommy, it's whatever you'd like to do. That's my counsel.
I
You
understand.
need your rights to do it. I would just advise that
There's no working together, and that's the end of it. Nobody trusts anybody, so let's just move on. I didn't know it was gonna be this big of a deal, Judge. Sorry about that.
All right. Everything good?
Let's roll.
Okay.
As we get into the budget development, let me strike this here off with the monies that's coming in. I can adjust my budget, leave my budget the same, no increase.
Y'all get that sheet that I did printed up
Yes, sir, I
everybody's
think so.
wants.
I think we did. I think we did. They handed it out to us.
See? Sheriff, you want to take a look at that? Judge, shall we strike everything off here that was added, correct?
Yeah.
What is the amount that we have to work with?
Ms. Bonnie?
Yes, sir.
The amount, Bonnie asked, the amount that we have to work with that's in the positive now instead of the negative where we were.
On page 18 of the general fund, very last page of that general fund, tells you the amount of funds you have left to work with. After all of the new requests were removed, the jailer positions removed, updated anything for contracts, interlocal, et cetera. This does include all the employees getting their 1.5% step increase. It includes all payroll taxes, longevity, and insurance for full-time employees. So you can see the bottom number is what you have to work with. If I understood, you're going to say you're going to do the allowance on the county attorney, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so then I'll subtract 2,500 from that amount, and that'll leave you with.
So the amount I'm looking at is 107,984.
No, it'd be, what it should show is 118,629.85. And if we subtract 2,500, now you're looking at about 115,000 to work with. I hope you have that new version too of general fund. That was,
Well, I'm looking at the, it's on page 19 on mine, and it says 107,984. That was what was in the packet. I don't know if y'all done work on it since.
yeah, we had everything removed. You should have all a brand new version, well, version number 2 at the top. For discussion. Is Lacey turned their notes, turned in all of the changes that were updated.
I was looking at the one that was in my packet, I got the new one now.
I think.
You were in the negative until I removed all of those things according to, there's a new sheet
107,
too,
right.
a notes page. You should have, dated August 26th, showing what was all removed, what was left in the budget.
Bonnie, this in mine showing 107.
Yeah, both of them are showing 100.
We made some changes, remember Lisa and Lacey, and we changed the pages that we needed to be reprinted and put in that report.
This is the one I got.
We added more revenue, changes to the revenue that the judge gave us and the treasurer.
Version 2 is behind all that.
The version number 2, me and Lisa have the same thing as the commissioners have.
So it was,
So,
Here, let me share,
I think we got it now.
Okay.
I see version 2.
$107,984.
well, that's the first. But I don't see the numbers you're talking about.
Got another update.
All right, let me have this.
I can share my screen possibly if you don't have it, so. Can you see this on the laptop?
We don't see nothing but your beautiful face.
I tried to share the screen of the budget. Lacey, would you double check what you have in your packet? Because it should be 118,229.85.
I have the same thing the commissioners have in both of mine, the 107.
Even after, okay, but we made changes and those pages were to be rerun. So maybe the last page wasn't generated and replaced.
Yeah, all mine's 107.
Yes, what mine is.
Okay, well, use 118,229.85.
118,229.
118,229.85 as your available funds to work with,
That-
adding anything back in.
That's not less that 2,500 for the county attorney?
That's not less than 2,500, so
Okay.
subtract 2,500, then you've got 115,729.85. Do you have the page 4 of the notes that, I sent to Lisa Rogers? On that last page? Okay, that was tell you by department what they requested, how much more you would need to add to the budget if you chose to put those back in. That includes any fringe benefits, insurance, whatever. I've tried to underline where it says cost increase to budget for each of those departments and request that they make. Trying to make it a little easier to either add it back in or pass over, or not to do so.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at, right?
You get that?
You don't have a lot to work with, obviously.
You're right.
And again, that's removing everything that everyone originally requested from me, that he wanted to drop back down to almost a zero with only things that were necessary to get a contract for to pay and giving all the employees 1.5% step increase. Again, when you add in the insurance on full-time employees, it's gone up, it takes a large sum of money in addition. That also includes retirees insurance.
Gonna be pretty tight.
And we started out about 400,000 last year.
Yeah.
396.
Look, Neil, look at the checks and the X's. Hey, circle what you think. Okay. 18. We started out with 396 last year.
What we had. We got less than 100 this year, just software and stuff. I know they need those two places.
That's it. There you go. What was that figure, 115 what?
108, but we don't change with the 25.
115,000. 725.
Look at that, Mike.
It's about $250,000 or $280,000 short from last year. God.
Close one.
It's gonna be tight. Any, whatever we do. Whatever we do.
Hmm? I've been told that, don't worry.
I've been told go like that. Ain't just no money.
Add it later.
Hmm?
Add it later if we need it.
So what would y'all like her to do?
The problem we have, Judge, is we got $116,000, and that's one emergency gonna wipe that out. We lose something that.
More than that.
Yeah, it's gonna be more than that. We need a whole lot bigger cushion than what we got, so, in addition of these new assistant stuff, we can't do that. If we don't have the money to do that, so. That's my recommendation.
Well, I just added all these up with the jailers in there as well. I added this up. $455,942.13 added to the budget, and we only got 115,000. So I don't know what we do. I guess that's why we get paid to be this job, sit in this position. You know, we wanting 455,000, and we got 115 to go in it. So, you know, I don't know. I don't know how to make. Obviously you're not going to make everybody happy, but I don't know what we need to do. 300, whatever that difference is, $300-something thousand. We keep doing that every year. It's gonna minus 115, 729, 85. $340,000 difference. That's what would be out of budget. $340,000. Do we dissect this even further and start trimming some fat from everybody, including, you know, us and every department? That's $340,000 just in the general fund side of it, you know. So that's out of budget.
You have to leave yourself with enough cushion for any emergency that comes up, and I mean, we can.
I think there's something built in there, in here, correct, there's a little 50,000 or 75,000 that's.
Yes.
That's just.
Yes, you've got 100,000, I've got 100,000 in there contingency, another 5,000 for contingency, there's two places. We also have some capital improvements at 75,000. So they're not earmarked for anything, but they're in those line item budgets. But that 100,000 is your reserve. So anything that you did not use out of these funds would go back into the reserve.
Can you anticipate what that would be, Bonnie? In looking, or a ballpark figure maybe?
Well, I've already included anything carried over from this budget year at 250,000. So that's already included in this number.
So we already lost that.
We've already got that held out. So that's the unfortunate, you know, bottom dollar there.
Buddy, we've lost all the timber money, right? It ain't enough to even talk. The timber money, we're
That's
not,
$147,000 we lost.
It went down
We lost
to
$147,000, we get $3,500 is all we get.
It went down to
Or
7,000, which we split that with the schools.
yeah, $3,500
For all of us.
See, originally with in your jailers, the budget would be 1.58 million, and then taking it out, it came to 1.3 million. So there's 200,000 that we took from those payroll and fringe benefits from those 4 positions. Which you can see before when I ran this, we were a negative. We didn't have any money to work with. We were negative. So throwing all that back in. So, but again, it still doesn't. I've got reserve held back. I've got some capital improvements held back, and I've got a carryover from this budget year to next for $250,000. So what we're going to collect in revenue, that's revenue total. I don't see that increasing any more than I've got on the budget, which is at $9,177,000. That's it. That's still up 2.9% over last year. And we're getting increases, which, probably average about, we're not getting increases to officials, so by department wise, it's only about 0.89% per department, or overall, 1% increase. This is a tight budget. I feel for you. I don't know what to tell you. If you had if the road and bridge, I've got everything in there that we would transfer over to make your budgets, the balance. I've already done all that. So that money's in there. If you make any tweaks or changes to make it less, that would add a little bit, but it's not gonna be a large grand total. Not unless you really cut all the budgets.
I don't see I think every department's gonna have to look close, Bonnie, and for us to make this budget year. We're starting out so far behind where we've been. And so, and we're not gonna generate any more money, as you said, just a little bit that Gary said that we'd generate. So I think everybody needs to just take a look at their budget for the year and see what we can do without. That's why I told you to cut those last 2 items of mine, just cut them off. I don't need nothing.
You want to move it?
Yes, ma'am, those 2, you take them out, because we're gonna have to make it somehow, we're going to make it up somewhere.
People can move their line items around and not increase it. And of course, I don't think any of them have, because I took everything out. So this is their basic budget.
There? Okay.
Yeah.
And we got $116,000.
Yep.
General rule of business.
We're only going up 3.29%, which we're only, with the tax rate of 0.539, plus our normal revenue that we would receive, and we had to reduce some that we know we're not gonna get. Timber is one of them, some other things that we're not getting any longer, we took out, or we reduced it, so. Revenue, like I said,
I don't see any expanding
we only
any
got 2.9%. Our
extras.
expenses, with
in
what
any
I put in
department.
there, went up 77%. That's why you've got 118 left. Cost has gone up. Education has gone up. That's taken out anybody's increase they wanted to do on education. We just left it as it was. Fuel, things of that nature. Your road materials,
road materials, hauling, all of it.
Yeah.
We can sit here and twiddle our thumbs if we want to. Everybody knows what we gotta do, but anyway, we gotta balance the budget.
Well, we can balance it, but you can't put in anybody, all the requests are being asked for, you can't.
No, ma'am, we're not gonna be able to.
Not all
I'll
of
take them
them.
off, Judge, don't have to. The extra departments asking for
The
extra
ones
people,
that
we
you
can't
decided
do.
you really did not, knew you weren't gonna put in, you strike those, and you go with the ones that you think, okay, let's see if we can handle that. Can we handle an additional $1,000 increase for training in one department? Or $500 here, $300 for mileage, those are a little bitty. You're looking at payroll impacting with insurance, impacting your budget.
Bonnie, on this, grant writer administration, part-time
Yes, please.
clerk,
Yes.
did you tell us that we could apply and pay that salary out of the grants?
Yeah, there are, on these administration of these large grants and such, we can put down the hours that person spends working on those grants, and then we're reimbursed for that. We've got money that'll be coming in for Vicki, by the way. So with these large grants that she is getting and we're working on, we can add those in as administrative time on the grant. We're asking, IT has the possibility of getting some on the one grant, on the cybersecurity grant. But we haven't even completed that grant yet, so I don't know for sure on that one, but I definitely know about the grant writer.
Well, if that did come through, then you could,
It would be revenue back into the general fund to offset that salary.
And then you could do it.
you could amend the budget, what I'm saying,
Yes, that's correct.
that's what I thought.
So as additional revenue came in, or when that came in, we would just, we would show that as adjusting the budget, yes.
Well, I don't know what y'all gonna do, but you'll do something here.
When's the preliminary gotta be filed, Judge?
Needs to be filed this week, isn't it, Lisa?
We need the salary letters are gonna go out tomorrow, and then we can file a proposed. It's not final, it's
Yeah,
proposed.
it just proposed, but
And then the final will be our last meeting in September.
I'm gonna leave it like it is and then come back in and look at it again. I'm talking about take it out, not add nothing to it.
Yes, sir.
That way you don't want
Put the preliminary that way.
Need a motion on that again.
No.
You can't have a motion. It's not.
Oh, it's not. So we just need to agree to go ahead and file that then, Lisa?
Yeah, we can take this budget right here, add in the allowance for Groveton, and then Bonnie can print one out that we can file as proposed. That's not the final, that's just proposed.
Yeah, did you hear that, Bonnie?
Yes.
Okay. Okay,
I make a motion we adjourn.
all in favor?
Second.
Aye.